Hong Kong. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alexis. I'm from second year. I'm studying in the University of Exeter, second year and PhD students. And because I've originated from Hong Kong, so I mean, a night sky in here in the UK is quite good for me. Anyways, you can't find anywhere which has more serious light pollution than Hong Kong, to be honest. Not even in London, to be honest. It's like Hong Kong is just way too serious. But even so, there are lots of people in Hong Kong who are interested in astrophotography, and we try to get the image of stars because we think that night sky is something like everyone can share. It's like something everyone have common in it. And then perhaps we try to take images. We will try to identify the stars, but with no luck. Or we think that only professionals or like only PhD in astronomy can do astrophotography. But in fact, it's not true. Because and I will be introducing some basics for astrophotography, and hopefully after the presentation, everyone can get started with astrophotography. So just give some definition of the astrophotography first. So astrophotography is a specialized type of photography. So it's like recording the images or videos of astronomical objects, celestial events, or like the area of night sky. So we just seen beautiful images of nebula, planets from the previous presentation. Also, we can see lots of images from the nebulae online, maybe from NASA, from social media. Those belongs to the deep space one, like the deep space astrophotography. So because it requires lots of knowledge about using the equipment, and then also a bit more knowledge for the night sky. So I'm not going to introduce that in here. So let's imagine. What if we only got a camera and a tripod? What can we do? So as long as you got a camera, like no matter is it a fancy DSLR or like just a digital camera, and as long as your camera allows you to do long exposure, and you have manual mode, and you can choose to have a manual focus, it will be fine to do in long exposure. And even I know I'm aware of there are some of the phones available on the market which allows you to do long exposure. And some of the professional, not even professional, some of my friends are actually using those phones for capturing images of Milky Way as well. So, but of course, you also need a tripod. So as long as we got a tripod and also a digital camera, we're good to go. Wide-field astrophotography only requires lenses with like short focal length. For example, like maybe 18 or like 20 or up to maybe standard focal length like 15 millimeters. So for wide-field astrophotography, we have lots of subjects. For example, we can have the star trails on the background, and we can take images of some special celestial events, meteor shower. We can take images of Milky Way, and maybe just an area of the night sky. So I'm here, like different subjects require different setup, but the similar principle applies. So in here, I'm going through some basic setup for astrophotography, especially the wide field one. So make sure your camera is on the M mode. Like the M mode is the M over there, and the example I'm using in here is a Canon one, so I'm sorry if you're using Nikon. and then you got the lens. So after you have turned it on and then choose the M mode, you would like to choose to the manual focus. So if you are using a digital camera, maybe you can find it in your control panel. And then we can go to the panel, and then we turn up the shutter speed a bit, and we can go to the drive. We can go to the drive mode. If you got the remote shutter control, it would be great because it allows you to take hundreds of images without touching the camera. But if you don't, you can just go to the remote control in your camera and then turn on the 10 seconds one, because a little press on your camera will shake the camera up there. So we don't really want a blurry image of stars. So we will turn on the 10 seconds remote control. This is the remote shutter control. So when you hold that, and then after you have done all the settings, and then it will be like it will keep on taking images. And there are some which is wireless remote control, but like it will be really helpful if you have those for the astrophotography. So let's talk about the focusing. So for adjusting the focus, we have the live view. We want to enlarge it to we want to zoom in a bit, and then until we can see the image, we can see the stars or like a bright spread in there. And then what we can use for focusing can be some really bright street light, for example, but it has to be like quite far away. Or we can just use some bright stars. So we can turn up the ISOs, like the ISO over there, and then try and use the live view mode, try to find the bright spread on the screen and adjust the focus rate until the star you're looking at, or like the bright object you're looking at, is getting to the smallest circle. And then in this case, your focus is done. After you have adjust your focus, you can try different combinations of ISOs, and you can try different combinations of like maybe which side you would like to take the image, angles, and different apertures combination. But make sure you don't adjust your focal length, because in this case you have to redo all the process I just said again, and then you don't want to do it all again. It's quite annoying. So yeah, other than just taking images of a wide view, we can have multiple images, and then we can create something like this. It's called star trails. So something like star trails is usually it takes about, the total exposure time would be around more than 10 minutes, or at least 10 minutes. And this image is actually total exposure time of 15 minutes. So I stack all the images together. One individual image took about 1 minute, and then I've stacked 15 images, so yeah, it's 15 minutes in this image. But other than create one single star trails, what we can put into movies and make a time lapse. So this is the time lapse. Obviously, it's taken in Hong Kong because you can see there is a high building up there, and you can't find it in the UK, to be honest. And then yeah, that is playing. And for time lapse, it's more or less like you want to have 20 frames per second. For example, this lasts about like 4 seconds, so there are 80 frames in this time lapse. Yeah, you can take time. You can have more frames and then create a longer time lapse, and it would be really fantastic. And because you can see the full. You can see stars going around like this in a full circle. It will be really nice. But for taking star trails, you can see that there is a difference in background brightness in here. You can see that, and we may want to adjust the it's always like a practice. We want to adjust the background brightness, because we don't want to get it to overexposure, like maybe something like really bright like this. So before we start taking more and more images, we may want to check is it overexposure or underexposure. If it is under, like a bit like this, it's like too dim, and then we would like to turn up the shutter speed a bit. So yeah, another popular subject people would like to do with wide view astrophotography will be the Milky Way. So the Milky Way, can be something like this, and it is this is the Milky Way. And for taking the images of Milky Way, it's a bit different from the wide field one or the star trails one, because we don't have any tracking. We just have a camera and a tripod. And we don't really want to make it look like a star trail. And so I would suggest, actually, if you are taking images on Milky Way, you may want to have your maximum exposure time of 20 seconds. Because if we do the exposure time for 30 seconds, and then we can see what happens. We'll have something like this. It's more less like when it goes up to 30 seconds, the star trails become pretty obvious. So yeah, we would like to use the 20 seconds one. So here we can see that you have different Milky Way, but it's actually looking at the different parts of the Milky Way. So the base in here is the core of the Milky Way, and people love the core of the Milky Way is because it's really bright and they've got lots of color in it. That's why lots of people would like to take the pictures with the Milky Way and then mixing it with the landscape during the summer. And the core of the Milky Way is more or less like only visible around summer. So yeah, you may want to take these pictures during the summer. And the edge of Milky Way is actually like, it will be something like this. It's because you are seeing the edge of Milky Way, so it's not like a really compact region. So you have lots of dust, like you have lots of dusty stuff. It's not seen because it's not the core of the it's not the core of the Milky Way. So it would be like less attractive, but it is visible throughout the whole year. So yeah, and we can also take pictures of meteor showers. And this image is taken by the European Southern Observatory. And here is it's during a meteor shower, and you can see on the left the green bit in here is actually a meteor. So meteor shower is something like when you have lots of meteors passing through, lots of meteor, and then they are like seems like they are coming from the same origin of the night sky, and we can call it meteor shower. Actually, there are lots of meteor shower throughout the year, but there are three of those are the most very famous one I'm going to introduce later because of its visibility. And just because you can see lots of shooting stars, and then the amount of shooting stars is quite stable. So that's why people love to watch the meteor shower and also take images of it. But personally, for me, normally when I'm watching meteor shower, I just watch it. Yeah, I just watch it and then count stars, and I don't normally take pictures of it. So moving on from the wide field one, because wide field one requires lenses with shorter focal length. So the lunar astrophotography may require the lenses with longer focal length, let's say going up at least 100 and to maybe 500 something. And 500 maybe some people will have it for the let's say for taking pictures of birds, but it's still camera lenses. So for lunar astrophotography, what people normally want to do will be taking images of the moon. We can have images of the total lunar eclipse. We can take in different phases of the moon. We can try to take pictures of the seas and the craters on the moon as well. Because we know that we have different phases of the moon. It would be interesting if we can keep track of it. We can take different images, and then try to create like a GIF or even a series of photos like this. Because you will see that apparently the size and the apparent size and also the phase of the moon changes with time. Right? So that's why sometimes when you hear on the news people saying like super moon, it's actually just because of the apparent size of the moon is roughly bigger than the average. So like yeah, you have super moon. Other than recording different phases of the moon, yeah, we can take pictures of total lunar eclipse. So this was a lunar eclipse back in 2015, September. I don't remember exactly what the date is, but it was one of the it was the last lunar eclipse in a series of lunar eclipses from 2014 to 2015. Because during that year, it's pretty fantastic. You got four consecutive, you got 4 lunar eclipses in a year. So I'm so lucky I was able to observe 3 of those. So yeah, and then this was taken with just a camera and a tripod with the focal length at 100 something, and like it's nothing fancy I've used. It's because it's just I used my own camera, and then the lenses, it's just the lenses coming with the camera. It's like the kit lens. So it's like I'm not using anything which is really expensive or really fancy. So other than we have total lunar eclipse, we can capture different phases of the moon. We can capture Milky Way. We can capture an area of night sky. We can maybe turn up the focal length of that, try to see the season craters of the moon. So in here, in this picture, because this is taken at the end of the lunar eclipse, so you can clearly see that there are some dark region. These are called the seas on the moon, and then there are some craters as well. So this one is a really famous crater called Tycho, and also you can see like near the white and like near the fissure. Because of the high contrast, you can see clearly these small craters over here. So not just the full moon, which is worth observing. Sometimes, like if it is not a full moon, we may be able to observe the detailed features near the division line because we've got a high contrast near that region. So it will be pretty interesting to observe. Actually, it would be really interesting to observe the moon throughout all the phases. And same as the normal landscape photography, we like to do plannings because let's say you would like to take pictures of Milky Way, so you have to know where the Milky Way is, or like is it up yet? And you will, even you don't have any specific target, like you don't have any specific target, you just want to take images of stars. But moon phase is really important because full moon, or sometime around full moon can be a killer because it will blow up your image. It's like the background will be really, really bright. So unless you want to include it in your photo, or you want to include it, or you want to let it be your subject. Otherwise, I would say, maybe avoid the full moon for taking images of Milky Way or like other images because it would just make your background so bright. So actually, like the astrophotographer, they have a joke that it's like the moon is natural light and natural source of light pollution, just a light bulb. It's pretty annoying. And so in this case, if we want to take the images of some special events like the meteor shower and also the total lunar eclipse I mentioned before, you will want to go online and check when are those events happening. So you will probably need a map or a planetarium software to guide you on when you should do it, or like when is or during that time what is up. So there are lots of free software online. So I'm going to introduce this one. It's called Stellarium. So Stellarium is an open source free software, and it's on the PC device. And you will be able to use it on your computer, no matter you're using Linux, Windows, or Mac. It's available in all platforms. So you can just input your position. So here I've set Exeter, and it's the date. We can put it in date, and it's tonight, 11. So we will be instantly able to see what is up tonight, and then how's the night sky gonna look like tonight. So this is facing facing the south. And then we can see the moon, the Jupiter, and some other stars in here. And the blue thing in here actually is another convenient feature of Stellarium is it's going to tell you that is there any special celestial event. And this blue dot in here is actually representing a radiant point of a meteor shower. So here is like later tonight. It's like 3 a.m. in the morning. So, and another feature of Stellarium is it's able to show the whole Milky Way. So it's more or less like you can kind of imagine when you're facing the south and you can know what's the orientation of Milky Way, and then how you can go and construct your own picture. So that's why Stellarium is it's really, really convenient, and lots of people keep using it. Let's say for looking how the night sky is going to look like, and also for maybe sometimes for outreach purpose as well. Another, so we're not going to bring our computer with us all the time, right? So we have mobile sky map. So this is another free software. It's called Google Sky Map. It's the most convenient one. But unlike this scenario, it won't show the position of the Milky Way. So you may need to check it. You want to check the position of the Milky Way beforehand. But another convenient feature about Google Sky Map is it's got have a navigation system. So you can just type in, let's say, I want to look for Mars. Is Mars here? And then if your phone, the compass on your phone is being well calibrated, you can just use your phone and then like navigate. Oh, where is Mars? And then it will tell you roughly where is Mars. That's why this software, like lots of people will still install this software on their phone as well. And most important, it's free. So we don't have to pay for it. Another really important thing about astrophotography is raw. Like, we don't want to take JPEGs. We just want to take raw images, because raw images will allow you to do lots of things with it. Like, it will maximize your range of adjustments, because it will allow you to adjust the levels, the curves, and also some other stuff with the images itself, because it contains lots of the most basic information of the pictures. And moving on to some software for image processing. The software, there are lots of software out in the market, but the software I'm going to introduce in here is the most, not necessarily the most common one, but is the free one, except Photoshop though. Another reason why I introduced all these software is because this software is, you can easily find tutorial on YouTube, or for people, there are lots of people, there's a professional astrophotographer use these software for image processing. So yeah, if you are really going into astrophotography, we can try to use this kind of software first, and then we can explore some other possibilities. So for Deep Sky Stacker is a software mainly for stacking images with wide field like Milky Way, or the nebula clusters, or comet like deep sky objects. So it's really convenient because we can just import all the light files and then we can stack it. The principle is something similar to it will recognize the pattern of stars and then try to find it throughout all the images and try to align those stars throughout all the frames. So yeah, you will create a stacked images. That's why it's like we can combine images being taken on different dates. Let's say we can combine images taken 1 year ago, and we can take another images 1 year after, and then we can just combine them together, because it's going to be processed and being stacked by software. And then you can just stack all the images and throw it into Photoshop for final adjustment. And there is another software I mentioned in here. It's called the Registex. This one is mainly for the lunar, planetary imaging, and also for the lunar photography. So the principle is similar. It's going to pick up the alignment points, like the similar features on throughout all the frames, and going to stack it together. And same as the Sky Stacker, we don't really do the final process of the images in those two software. We just throw it to the Photoshop and let Photoshop do all the job for us. So yeah, I'll introduce how to take pictures. So you may also want to know what are the major celestial events visible in the UK. So for the major meteor shower, it occurs every year. So the first one is the Quadrantis meteor shower. Is somewhere around the early January, so it's already passed. But we can be looking forward for the Perseus and also the Geminids meteor shower, because the Perseus is like somewhere around mid-August and the peak around 13th of August this year, and we may be able to observe roughly more than 30 or 40 meteors per hour when it is peak. So yeah, you may want to bring your friends, and then you may want to bring your scope, your tripod, and your camera to capture the meteor as well. And another thing about the total and the nearest total lunar eclipse is on 21st of January 2019. But unfortunately, it's 2 a.m. in the morning, so you may need to get up early a little bit. Yeah. And the good thing about total lunar eclipse, unlike the solar eclipse, is total lunar eclipse is going to last for hours. I'm talking about like 3 or 4 hours for total lunar eclipse. So you have a lot more time for feel free to adjust your equipment and then test different combinations. So it's going to be a good chance for practicing how to use your camera as well. And the most important thing is you can see the changes gradually. So you can see it being dim slowly and changing into a red color slowly, unlike the solar eclipse. Because solar eclipse is the duration of solar eclipse is only few minutes, maybe 2 minutes or so. So everything has to be precise. And for solar eclipse, you also need a filter because you don't want to burn your camera. Lots of people burn the camera during solar eclipse this summer, so it's not good. Yeah, I would recommend total lunar eclipse rather than solar eclipse because you can enjoy yourself for a few hours instead of 2 minutes. And here is some tips for astrophotography and stargazing. Everyone will talk about it because it's something like banana, and it's please take away your rubbish and use the red torch if needed. If you need it for if you need to find something, so keep it at the best thing is keep it at the waist height if you're walking. So if there are other people around, so be considerate. And the last few things is actually the most important. Bring enough water and food because you don't want to stay hungry in the wild for 3 hours or for the whole night and stay warm. And the most important thing is the battery and the memory card because it happens to me and my friends for several times. It's either me or him forgetting to bring the memory card or enough battery, and then we just stand there and then do stargazing for a few hours without using the camera, which is pretty annoying. And don't use strong white LED torch, and even if you're using the red torch, don't directly shine the torch at someone or to a camera. And I know some people will use laser pointer, but please avoid using laser pointer and avoid using it and avoid pointing it to a plane or on the sky or at the sky when someone is taking photos. So the thing that I mentioned about is the deep sky astrophotography and planetary imaging, because it will require lots of equipment like a scope, a equatorial mount, tripod, and some more understanding towards the night sky. So I'm not going to include that in here. For right now, they're being taken by my scope and my equipment myself. So. Is there any questions related to stargazing, photography, or somebody?